Hi everyone, I'm Bear Peterson, Mayor of Franklin Park, and this is Franklin Park Volume 9. Today we're going to conclude the presentation of the Metropolitan Planning Council Program Director, Josh Ellis. I know it's a big mouthful, regarding the water management in northeastern Illinois. If you recall, we presented the first half in Franklin Park Volume 8, and today we're going to pick up exactly where we left off, so you won't miss anything. By the way, when Josh is finished, we're going to introduce you to a new restaurant in Franklin Park called Grinders. You're going to love it, but first, let's hear more about our water challenges. Josh?
Every community around here, these older established communities, have this same challenge of repairing old, aging infrastructure. In the city of Chicago, it costs about $1.5 million to repair 1 mile of pipe. To replace 1 mile of pipe. The city of Chicago raised its water rates last year they went from very low to slightly less low, and every year for the next couple of years they will increase, and by the time we're done it'll still be some of the cheapest water in the United States. Currently, the city of Chicago charges $2.89 per 1,000 gallons. A couple of years ago it was $2.01, so it's gone up. And it's going to go up again the next 2 years to, I think, $3.50 per 1,000 gallons. Still less than New York, still less than Philadelphia, still less than these major metropolitan areas. The city of Chicago then sells that water to suburban communities like Franklin Park at the same rate that its own residents pay, right? And then those communities, in order to meet their own costs and manage their own systems, have to add on to the city's cost. The city raised its rates because it has those 4,250 miles of water pipes, and it couldn't keep up with maintenance. For years, they were repairing 35 miles a year out of 4,250, and they were charging enough money in their rates to generate enough revenue to fix 35 miles of pipe in a 4,250 mile system. Do the math, over 100 years, they wouldn't be able to address every single pipe mile. So they raised their rates, and now they're repairing a whopping 70 miles of pipe. So now, once every 100 years, in theory, every mile of pipe will get replaced, but just barely. So their rate increase has allowed them to make those repairs. And again, for much of the region, the Chicago pipe system is the starting point of your water system, right? Some trends here in the region on the sort of amount of lost water that disappeared from pipe systems or from metering errors, okay? And this is from data that the Illinois Department of Natural Resources collects on an annual basis from every Lake Michigan community. The one you want to look at here is the green line, which is the combination of the red line and the blue line. The green line is, according to the accounting formula used by the Department of Natural Resources, it's the total amount of lost water. Water that was pumped out of a treatment plant and then somewhere along the way to a water meter disappeared. So you paid the chemicals, the labor, the pipes, everything. You paid all of this stuff to produce that gallon of water, and it never showed up on a bill, right? So it was lost water. It's non-revenue water. There's a cost to produce it, but then you're generating no revenue because it never actually made it to a tap. Right? Imagine if Coca-Cola sent 100 trucks out full of Coke to go to stores. The Coke's already been made, and 20 of those 100 trucks never showed up at Dominic's or Jewel. They will just have not generated any money from those 20 trucks full of Coke. It's the same story here. So the green line is the sum. And in 1999 and 2000, the region as a whole was losing between 120 to 140 million gallons of water a day, which is about 15% of the total water consumption. So 15% of the region's water that we paid for just disappeared. It leaked out of pipes, meters are broken, it doesn't register it, something happened, and this water just wasn't paid for. And it's gone up and down, and then there's this sharp decrease in the past couple of years. Well, that sharp decrease is largely because of improvements in Chicago's leak detection system, metering systems, so on and so forth. And because Chicago consumes so much water, it pulls the entire region's numbers down, okay? If you take Chicago out, it's actually a fairly steady increase for the rest of the region, all the other communities that use Lake Michigan water. The amount of water, the percentage of water being lost, the total gallons of water being lost is on the rise. Chicago's is declining, but they have a huge job to do, and the rest of the regions is on the rise. So as our pipes age, as our water meters age, we're losing more and more water that we've already paid to produce, okay? You go to the grocery store, you pay $100 on your groceries, and on the way home, 20% of your groceries blow out the window. You already paid for it, but it's not there when you get home, right? That's what's going on. And outside of the city of Chicago, this is getting worse. Now, I'm happy to debate how accurate the information from Chicago is, that's fine, but the information outside of the region says this is getting worse. Water supply isn't the only situation where this is happening, right? We're falling behind on sewer systems. We're falling behind on stormwater systems. I think Franklin Park is a combined sewer system. Yeah. So Franklin Park has one sewer system. The rain off the streets and the water from your toilets and drains ends up in the same sewer system. That's why when it rains, there's so much water, it comes back out, and there are some problems. Other communities have two systems. There's a separate stormwater system and a separate sewer system. Well, they have problems too, right? We're falling behind on maintenance and repair of all of these things, and that's causing problems. This is just an example of some of the problems associated with maintaining a sewer and stormwater system. So all told across the board, essentially the costs of energy, chemicals, labor, pumps, pipes, meters, paper, billing, fees, permits, insurance, whatever, they're all going up. They've all increased. And they have increased at a rate faster than we have adjusted our water rates. And so our costs are outstripping our revenues, and so we fall behind, right? We fall behind on maintenance, we fall behind on upkeep, and as a result, the systems degrade, they get less efficient, so on and so forth. That is the national and regional trend. Sorry to bring you down. All right. Some resources you can use to learn more about these issues and learn what you can do both as a homeowner, business owner, a voter, consumer at the store, so on and so forth. Our website is metroplanning.org. That report right there, immeasurable loss, is where those numbers on the water loss came from. That report outlines some policy changes that the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, you'll remember I said they're in charge of the Lake Michigan allocation program. IDNR is proposing to modify its accounting system for water loss and to force everybody in northeastern Illinois over a period of time to get their water loss to 8% of their pumpage or less. Well, right now the region's average is about 15%, okay? So to move the whole region from 15% down to 8% is quite substantial. It's very substantial when you translate it into the millions of gallons of water that would have to be saved through repairs. It's even more substantial when you translate it into the hundreds or thousands of pipe miles that would have to be repaired or meters replaced, so on and so forth. That is a regulatory change coming from the state. It will compel every community using Lake Michigan water, by and large, to make substantial infrastructure investments in pipes, pumps, meters, so on and so forth, in order to meet that standard. All of that is explored in that report, Immeasurable Loss. I brought a few copies. There may still be some in the back. I have one more here, and it's online at metroplanning.org. We have a communications campaign called What Our Water's Worth, where we share stories pretty much on a monthly basis about some of the hidden costs of providing clean water, safe stormwater management, and efficient wastewater management. Things like the impacts of different road salting techniques, things like the costs associated with manual meter reading as opposed to automatic transponder signal meter reading. some of those things, what it sort of takes to provide water and the costs associated with it, right? That's at chicagolandh2o.org. That's the What Our Water's Worth campaign. The one right below it is the Illinois-Indiana Sea Grant. This is a University of Illinois extension program. Illinois-Indiana Sea Grant, and that's L2L, Lawn to Lakes. This is a program that the University of Illinois Extension has, Lawn to Lakes. They talk about efficient lawn care and practices that you can use for outdoor water conservation. I think we continue to have a problem in our region where grass and most vegetation in this region really only requires about 1 inch of water a week to stay lush and green. 1 inch of water a week, if you're using an outdoor sprinkler, is like 45 minutes with an outdoor sprinkler once a week, based on the amount of water that it puts out. And people often are out there maybe every other day, every day, something, running their sprinkler for hours and hours and hours. It's way more water than the vegetation actually needs. You're paying for it. You don't need it. The grass doesn't need it. So why do it, right? So the Lawn to Lakes program talks about how much water vegetation actually needs here. Outdoor water use is a major driver of water bills. It's a major driver of the pipe capacity and pump capacity. Outdoor water use is similar to Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving shopping at malls. Malls build their parking lots for the day after Thanksgiving because that's when their maximum demand is. And then the rest of the year, those parking lots are pretty much empty, and they've got this massive parking lot that's sitting there empty. That's what happens in the summer when people start using all of this water. It drives up the peaks in the demand for water, and so you have to build your infrastructure, your pipes and your pumps, to meet those peak demands. If we can reduce the summertime demands for water just through more efficient lawn watering, we won't have to build pipes and pumps that are quite so large. And the grass doesn't need it, so give the grass the amount of water it needs, and everybody saves some money. On a long term, water conservation pays off in that regard. The one below it is the Alliance for Water Efficiency, A4WE, Alliance for Water Efficiency. Another great resource if you as a homeowner, business owner, property manager for school or some other institution want to look at water management operations in your facility. And then the last one is the Regional Water Supply Plan, Water 2050. These are all great resources. They're all online. I did bring some paper copies of a lawn care manual from the Lawn to Lakes and our immeasurable loss. And the last thing I would mention, if you're interested in learning more about how water rates in particular are created, in a couple of weeks, August 28th in the morning, if you would like to spend your morning at the DuPage Water Commission headquarters, which is in Elmhurst, which is healthy but short stone's throw away. We are putting on this workshop with the DuPage Water Commission, and we're going to be talking about how water infrastructure investments are typically financed, whether it's through loans, bonds, so on and so forth. Ted Hamer from KPMG will be talking about a range of public-private partnership options. And then Margaret Schneemann from that group I just mentioned, the Illinois-Indiana Sea Grant, she's a water resources economist. She provides assistance to municipalities in how they set their rates, and more importantly, how they identify their full costs and then meet that with their rate structures. Anyway, this is coming up here in a couple weeks, the morning of August 28th. It's free. There are generally some donuts available, but there are also only a specific number of chairs, so if you want to go, you can register. That's also on our website, which again is metroplanning.org. And that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, although again, I don't really know much about Franklin Park, but I can talk about things going on in the region and so on and so forth. Yes, sir. And the question for the camera was when someone cracks open a fire hydrant in the city of Chicago or really anywhere, how much water is lost? It's a lot. I really don't know. It all depends on the pressure of the pipe system. One of your engineers might have a better idea of how much water gets lost out of a fire hydrant. 1,200 to 3,600 gallons per minute. So over the course of an hour, it's a lot of water. That at least in the city of Chicago, one of the things that they are trying to do is put locks on all the fire hydrants to prevent that from happening. I live essentially on the south side, where I think we often see this because there's less access to pools and things like that. It's also been a cool summer, but I haven't seen a single one this year. So it is getting better as they go put those locks on all the hydrants. It still happens though, yeah. And you do lose a lot of water, and it's not paid for on a bill, so that cost gets distributed to everybody else. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, sir. The question was for water loss from municipal systems, what percentage comes from billing errors or metering errors as opposed to actually being real loss? There are estimates. I think the general estimate is that maybe about 20%, 30% can be from billing and metering errors, and the rest is often from the pipes themselves. There will be specific instances where your meter on your home can be broken, and you'll end up paying some exorbitant bill. There will also be instances where your meter's broken and you pay nothing and you've been using tremendous amounts of water. We have one of the problems we have in nationally and regionally is that we don't study, we don't collect data, we don't manage our water systems with the same level of intensity as we do for, say, electric or gas. And I think that's largely because electric and gas utilities are typically run by the private sector. They're profit-seeking enterprises, and so they seek efficiencies wherever possible. Historically, certainly in Illinois and many other places, water utilities were run by units of government. The water rates were often kept artificially low as an economic development incentive for a whole host of other reasons. And so we don't have the same sophistication in our water systems in terms of real-time monitoring and measuring and so on and so forth that you have for electric and gas. That said, we're getting there. Those are the kinds of investments that lots of utilities are making. And it's very rare that municipal water utilities or even private water utilities do comprehensive water loss and water use audits on an annual basis. Another tool that Franklin Park might want to look at is a new water auditing software system from the American Water Works Association, which is also available for free. Single family and two flat homes, to my knowledge, it's about 325,000 homes don't have meters and are in the process of having them installed. It is a large number. All told, the water consumption of those 325,000 is only about 20% of Chicago's water. The other 80% comes from all the multifamily buildings, businesses, so on and so forth. It is a problem they're trying to solve. The exact opposite scenario also exists, where someone who doesn't have a water meter gets one, and now because they see the information on how much water they're using, they use less and their bill actually goes down. So I'm not sure there's one consistent story about the experience with people getting water meters in the city, but it is a big problem. They are working on it. Chicago's obviously got the biggest problem because they're the biggest city and have the most homes. They are not the only community in northeastern Illinois that doesn't have comprehensive water metering. There are other places that are still covering that water metering gap, several towns in the south suburbs in particular. Questions? Yeah. Everybody on the Great Lakes outside of Illinois processes water from the lakes, cleans it up, uses it, flushes it down a toilet, treats it again, and puts it back in the Great Lakes. Ours goes, okay. So in Cook County, just in Cook County, when it goes down a street drain or when you flush it down a toilet or whatever, it goes to one of 7 treatment plants owned and operated by the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Cook County. They are not the county, they are not the city, they're a separate unit of government. They have a board of 9 commissioners. I think the most well-known is Deborah Shore, but we vote for them every 2 years, and a lot of people often don't know who they are. You pay for them through your property taxes. They clean the wastewater, and then it is released into the Chicago or the Calumet rivers, and it flows because of the reversal of the river. The Chicago and Calumet used to go into the lake. We reversed them. Now they go the other direction. They converge in Lockport near Joliet. They go over a dam into the Des Plaines, and then they run into the Illinois, and then they run to the Mississippi, and then they run to the Gulf of Mexico. That's where it goes. Yes, sir. I can go all night, so just, yeah. This is another thing that I work on. I sent a memo to the Illinois Department of Public Health today. So plumbing codes in the state of Illinois, they are antiquated. That is very generous of you. They are antiquated, yes. The state's plumbing code, which is overseen by the Illinois Department of Public Health, has not been changed in a decade, and that change was very insignificant. So it hasn't been changed much in a long time. That code is the minimum standard for the state. A municipal government can have a code that is somehow stronger. So if a municipality wanted to require low-flow toilets, they could. However, on a topic where the code is totally silent, such as water reuse, the municipal government cannot say anything. They cannot have something stronger than nothing. Does that make sense? You can have something stronger than something, but not stronger than nothing. So municipal governments who might be willing to allow that have their hands tied and can't allow it right now. There have been a few buildings. The most recent one, a homeowner, a woman named Anna Garcia Doyle in Oak Park, was able to get a variance from the state Department of Public Health, from the state plumbing code, to install a gray water reuse system in her house. Okay. Now, it wasn't a retrofit. They were doing a gut rehab. They had torn out all the piping, and so it was more cost effective to go in with a second set of pipes than if you were to go into your home tomorrow and rip out the wall and do it. All right. They got a variance. We shouldn't have to go down to Springfield every time somebody wants to put one of those systems in. California, Oregon, Colorado, Hawaii, they all allow these things through their plumbing code. So we, last year, passed a bill with the Department of Public Health that gave them a timeline for modernizing the state's code to allow for non-potable water reuse. So gray water is water from your washing machine, your shower, bathroom sink, not the kitchen sink. There's no, gray water can't have any fecal or food matter in it. So gray water, rainwater, air conditioning condensate, and a couple other sources of water that currently all just go into the sewer. So this bill passed last year, House Bill 4496, Carol Senti out of Lincolnshire was the sponsor. It created a timeline for modernizing the code, and right now they're in the process of writing those requirements. Literally today, I sent some information to them that they had asked for on how to do this. So it's a work in progress. Once those code changes pass, you will, by right, be able to hire a firm or whatever and put this in. It's crazy. There's a firm in Crystal Lake, it's not too far from here, that actually builds these systems for reusing rainwater and gray water in your home, and they basically can't sell them here in Illinois. They ship them all to Wisconsin and other places. So that's a work in progress. Again, metroplanning.org, you can track all of our work on that area. I'm happy to talk to you about it. I'll be here all night. I'm happy to answer more questions. There's my information. Send me an email. If you're on Twitter, there I am. Give me a call. Thank you.
All of the information in Josh's presentation is available on the Metropolitan Planning Council website. We thank him for his detailed explanation of the challenges towns and villages face providing water now and in the future. Now, in keeping with our theme of welcoming business to Franklin Park, let's take a look at a new restaurant on Grand Avenue called Grinders. Well, it's always a pleasure to welcome new business to Franklin Park. Let's meet the owners. Well, hello and welcome to Grinders at 9400 Grand Avenue in Franklin Park. This is a new business and we're welcoming them here. We have Dave Guerin. Dave, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And Greg Clavio.
Thank you, Barrett.
Good. Greg and Dave opened this business here. Dave Guerin, as you know, owns Underpass behind this, and it's in the same building. And he often wanted to open this up and provide another eatery. And we're so glad that he decided to invest money in the premises and open up a new restaurant here in Franklin Park called Grinders at 9400 Grand Avenue in Franklin Park. And today is January 16th. 2014. Welcome aboard. We're going to now do a ribbon cutting. Thanks for joining us, folks. We had to get our trusty scissors out for the ceremonial ribbon cutting. And now, the important part. Time to try the food. Well, that's it, folks. We are completely out of time. You may have noticed many of our village officials and employees joining me at the welcoming of Grinders. I want to remind you of the efforts of our hardworking elected officials, including Trustee Cheryl McLean, Andy Ibarra, Karen Special, Randy Peterson, Bill Rule, and our clerk, Tommy Thompson. Oh, and don't let me forget Trustee John Johnson. Me, I'm Mayor Barrett Peterson. Thanking you for watching. We'll see you next time on Franklin Park, Volume 10.